show. Do you guys like the new intro? I did it today. Did you like the hat flip? Oh, see, that's actually how it went most of the time while I was filming the intro. Yes, the Hyperzine made an appearance. Yes. Welcome to Cat Calls Motherfuckers. We are back. It is season 6. Can you believe it, fam? I can't, but I'm so excited to say welcome back to a whole new season. Thank you, Kat. I'm glad that you like the new intro. Well, we have a good time here. We have a good time. I need everyone to give a big round of applause for today's guest. She is a returning cast member at Cat Calls, a beloved favorite and a frequent caller. Everyone give a big round of applause to Baby Wait. Yeah, I'm so excited to have Kara back on the program. We usually end each season of Cat Calls with a Baby Wait chat, but because this year I was so hyper-focused on my Justice vlogumentary, currently available to watch in full here on the Super Cat World YouTube channel, I just didn't get around to having a season finale. So we're making up for lost time by kicking off season 6 with Baby Wait, who always has such wonderful, thoughtful, and often meandering things to say. Buckle your seatbelts. This one loves to talk about everything from movies to politics, queer rights, snack foods, big dreams, hot tea. It's coming in strong. And to get things started, we're gonna jam to her latest track. It's called Shed the Skin, and it features Staria, another talented performer who has also appeared on Cat Calls. So go check that chat out when you've got some free time. Staria is very cool. She's singing on this track, Shed the Skin. And she not only performs live and of course makes her songs and sings on them, but she creates these amazing outfits for her performances. She's just like truly in the vein of a brilliant DIY creative, and I can't sing her praises enough. So watch that Cat Calls episode, but not now, because now we're gonna listen to Shed the Skin. It's out on Club Sweat, and it's gonna make you sweat. See, music references. Go on, get your groove on, but don't go anywhere, because when we come back, Baby Wait will be on the line, because yay, Cat Calls is back, baby.
Sit tight. Stop.
Hello. You.
Hello.
We were so caught up in chatting with each other about sub that we our sub relationship that we totally kind of missed the mark on that. But with a song as funky as Shed the Skin, I think that we left you in good hands.
Yeah, good. Glad. Wonderful. Perfect. Love to see it.
We're live, and Baby Wade is wearing her hat. So I decided I'd put my hat on, available on the Fourth Wall Super Cat World as merch. What does your hat say?
My hat says "Thick Dads Who Vape for Christ."
Oh my god! You know what? Just because
so
you said that, I
it's
wasn't
a
gonna
pretty
do
good
this.
one.
I wasn't gonna do this, but I'm gonna vape on camera just because your hat says that.
Yeah, it's thick dads who vape for Christ. Yeah.
I love thick dads who vape for Christ, especially if the Christ in question is, this is my religion, but that's the cross that I pray at, the justice. Put this one. I have 2 justice books within reach because I'm a nerd. But where'd you get
It's
that
okay.
hat?
This was a Christmas gift. My very thoughtful younger brother said, "What are 3 things that my sister has very zero interest in? Thick dads, vaping, and Christ." And
I'm so sorry to rub
he
it.
got me a hat to commemorate all 3 of those things.
Man,
And it's corduroy as well, so like it doesn't breathe very well in the heat.
hell yeah.
it's-
We love a sweaty hat hair moment. This hat, wow,
Yeah.
it breathes so well. I can't believe it. It's kind of the perfect hat. I don't know.
Yeah.
Available for sale
You
now.
Yeah. You should put a link somewhere for people to buy them.
I
That
should.
would be smart.
I'm gonna do that.
You
But
sh-
while I'm doing that, why don't you tell us about "Shed the Skin" with Starya, the song out now
Yeah.
on Club Sweat Records. Stream it,
So,
love it.
that was a pretty spectacular thing that kind of came together. Starya and we've been friends since the Panini.
Love her.
And yeah, love her. She's fabulous. And I had been sitting on a track for a while and had tried collaborating with someone else. Not that it wasn't bad, but it just, wasn't quite where it needed to be. And I sent it to her when she was on a live stream, like on Twitch. And she was like, "I'm bored. I don't know if I should start something new." And I happened to be there and was just like, "Hey, I could send you a project file if you want to give a crack at it." And literally over this Twitch stream, she and I kind of put our heads together, literally opened a Google Doc, shared it, passed it back and forth, wrote the lyrics together. It was a pretty wonderful experience. And we made the bulk of the track over the course of this live stream. Then, as most songs have a tendency to do, at least in my experience, it was a little bit ahead of the curve. A lot of people didn't really know what to do with it in terms of like labels that we were sending it to. Like, they were going, "It's kind of cool, but we're not sure about the energy," or "We don't think it's a right fit." And then lo and behold, Brat became a thing last year.
It was quite a
And-
thing. Was quite a thing. I think everyone in the chat, have you heard of the album Brat, Charlie XCX?
It was a independent darling.
Yes.
Yeah, very limited pressing.
A little bit of social media buzz, but you might have missed it. I
A
don't know.
a tiny bit. It was featured in this small zine. You might have heard it, Rolling Stone.
Yeah. I swear I've seen that before. I have a couple back issues, I think.
Yeah. Very independent zine, super grassroots. Charlie XCX, did her thing last year. And then people started warming up to it a little bit, I think as a result of Charlie's album, because it has a similar, it's not hyper pop, but it still has that kind of like feral energy to it. And then somebody over at Club Sweat heard it and was really into it. And then it came out this year, and that was very quick. It went from being something nobody wanted to touch for about a year to, like, oh, we want this, pretty much, within the span of a week.
That's crazy. I love this story.
It's funny how things like that happen.
I love that story for two reasons. One being, it's cool to have a conversation with an artist who is seeing and living the impact of the Brat Summer, what happened there. Because I think when Brat Summer came out, we were all really excited. Well, I was excited, and I know my friends in the chat were excited about, like, what does this mean? Is, like, the whole Electro Clash blog house vibe gonna come back? And so it's cool to see that it is having its ripple effect on your career. And also, the way that sometimes things take time, like, just because you've created something and you don't see it having its audience or its place right away doesn't mean that that's not going to one day happen. And I think sometimes as creatives, you can get really caught up in, like, oh no, nobody's paying attention to the thing that I made. But, like, that doesn't mean that they're not going to. It just sometimes takes a little moment.
Yeah, totally. And, that seems to be a recurring thread with a lot of my music, where, it comes out and it doesn't land with, like, a huge impact right out the gate. I would say the vast majority of it doesn't. But then after about 6 months to a year, you go back and you see how many streams some of these songs have done, and you go like, wow, this has been played 20,000 times. I didn't realize people even knew that this song existed. And that's happened to quite a few songs, especially some of the ones from last year, where, I'm sitting here down in the dumps like, it didn't get playlisted on Spotify. But then, you go, to look back at it at the end of the year, and it's just like, oh, wow, like, people really love these songs. People want to hear these songs live when I'm playing out.
That's cool.
And yeah, it's just like, you have to be patient sometimes. Good things grow with time. And you obviously, as an artist, you want things to be organic. I think there's an advantage to that, that a lot of artists don't have the patience to kind of sit back and really digest. So,
I totally get that. No, I totally get that. I feel the same way with all the Super Cat World stuff that I'm building, because it's like, everything takes time, but I would prefer that it take its time, and that the people who find me and the stuff that I'm creating really enjoy it and want to see what comes next. It would be like, if you just buy a bunch of bots, or you just kind of like inflate your standing because it looks good for numbers reasons, that just doesn't last forever, And if you're trying to make something that really means something to you, I think that it's that lasting impact, and it's like finding your people,
Yeah, absolutely. And, I've given a lot of thought and consideration to that. And I overheard someone say at some point last year that they would much rather have 1,000 dedicated people versus 10,000 casual people who could take you or leave you. Like, obviously the 10,000 people is a bigger crowd, But are those people listening to every song you put out, buying t-shirts? Like, are they showing up early to the show to see you play? And so, sometimes it's better to have a smaller number of very highly driven people versus a larger number of people who,
they're just in the crowd, not really paying attention. Yeah.
Yeah. And, it's like Coachella just happened, right? And a friend of mine, we were talking back and forth. He was watching the live stream from his home in Oakland. I was watching it from my house over here on the East Coast. And we were talking about, because he's never played Coachella, and I played it last year. And he was asking kind of what the difference is in terms of the crowd there. And I would argue and say that, like, while Coachella is good for exposure to a certain degree, especially on a stage like the Do-Lab where they don't pay you, which
didn't know that.
Which, now that somebody else has kind of like burst that bubble, I feel like we can openly say that.
Yeah.
You're basically, it's like you're basically there for exposure. Right.
And to say, I played Coachella on the Do-Lab stage. And of course it sounds good and it looks good. And, yeah.
Yeah, the content looks incredible. You're there in front of thousands of people. And, so it's like, to a certain degree, yeah. And, on paper, it looks great. You just have to go in knowing I'm not going to make any money off of this. And if you're okay with that, then, that's one thing. Yeah. But I digress.
You never.
So they were asking, so they were asking, what's the crowd like? What's the crowd like? And I would argue that the majority of people go to Coachella not to experience music. They go to Coachella to experience the vibe of Coachella, right?
Yeah.
Like, music is it's what's marketed to the people. Like, this is why you're going. This is the lineup. But in reality, the lineup is just one part of a much larger painting.
Definitely.
Right? You're going there. You're going there for the art installments. You're going there for the in some cases the food. If you're like a huge food person, you're going there for this kind of once in a lifetime thing. And I would argue the majority of people probably go to Coachella one time.
Yeah.
Obviously there's the people that go every year, but it's so expensive to go.
I saw more than 50% of attendees this year used the payment plan to be able to go to Coachella, which tells you something about where we're at economically. And, but the lineup brings people. But you're so right, because every time I go to Coachella, I'm always like a little amazed at how little music I see. And maybe it's partially me and the fact that, I'm usually there doing some work and I know people in the industry and everyone wants to have a little chit chat moment. But like, I have to force myself to just go and explore music that I don't know, because to me that's half the point of going to a music festival too, is you want to see something that's going to blow you away that you didn't even know you wanted to see. And it just is so easy to get caught up in like trying to find people, chit-chatting with this person. I want to run to this stage, but then I want to run to this stage, and it's like fucking 500 football fields long, and it just kind of becomes like the music festival of being sunburned and dehydrated and tired.
Yeah. And so it's like, they're paying you an exposure, right? Like if we're talking about the Do-Lab stage.
Yeah.
And from my experience, right, I had a wonderful time playing that stage. But of the thousands of people who saw me perform, right, because I've seen photos, I would imagine that it was at least 1,000 people that were there. I want to say maybe 100, maybe 200 people followed me on socials after that weekend. So, and that's out of how many hundreds of thousands of attendees at that festival. So, you're kind of like weighing the pros and cons of that.
Yeah.
But those 100 people, 200 people, those people are now like fans. Like I've converted those people.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a value in that. And I would much rather have those 200 people versus me playing a main stage or like the Sahara tent or whatever in front of like 10,000 people. And the majority of those people could care less who I am because they're just there to camp for whoever is headlining that night.
I'm sure you would win them all over if you had the chance.
That's very sweet of you to say. That's very sweet of you to say. But I think about, it's like how many of those people sat through Green Day only because they wanted to see Travis Scott. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that makes me sad because I'm a millennial who loves Dookie and I got into an argument with my friend about like, was Green Day a good booking? And I was like, what do you fucking mean? Like Green Day rocks. And he was
they were not only a good booking, they were a great booking. And
justice for Green Day.
Especially with how politically we are. Like kind of like the political situation we're in right now and how it mirrors in a lot of ways that American Idiot era of their career.
Yeah.
I think it was an amazing callback. And the fact that they opened on weekend one with, I don't know if their set was the same on weekend two, but on weekend one, they opened with American Idiot, Holiday, and Know Your Enemy.
Nice.
And like specifically like staring down the barrel of the camera, like,
wow.
Like, yeah, we're talking to you, conservatives. It's I think that there's certainly a time and place for artists like that, and I think this year was the appropriate time and the appropriate place.
Yeah.
So anyhow, but yeah,
fucking facts.
Going back,
all of this circles back around to things I want to talk to you about. But if you had final thoughts on the,
I don't have final thoughts at all.
You only ever have beginning and middle thoughts.
Yeah, I have beginning and middle thoughts, and the final thoughts are usually just a series of prepositions and commas and nouns.
Well, before we fall asleep at the keyboard, I want to talk to you about how your sound has crystallized since the last time we talked in this direction of really tapping into, you and I have been talking about this for a year. This is our 4th Cat Calls. Because we didn't end the season. I actually, in the intro, I had clips of all the other 3. So, we'll just keep stacking them as we go. The real question is, are we gonna sandwich this season? Are we gonna have you on as the last guest? I think we just should. A little baby weight off the tower.
That's up to you.
But,
that's up to you.
We've talked at length about, we came up with the Riot Grrrl Rave term together, and you've talked a lot about bringing some more songwriting into your club tracks and bringing your indie roots into your music. And Shed the Skin absolutely nails that. I love The Home We Built and Secret Garden, also on your Spotify recent releases from 2025, that lean into this mix of your influences. But I would just love to hear you expand on how that's been and how you're feeling creatively.
Yeah. So there's bits and pieces of all those things in the music that I'm making now. The Riot Grrrl Rave aesthetic the idea behind that, the ethos, is very prevalent in my music right now, especially with how outspoken I've been in regards to the current administration, and especially in regards to some of the promoters in the LGBTQ community who are putting together events for things like Pride, and in regards to artists who claim to be allies but then stay silent when they have a platform that they could use to actually execute very real change. And I don't want to go into too much detail on that last one because I'm trying not to go off the deep end here, but the that was me throwing shade, by the way.
Yes, I caught a little bit. I caught a little bit of that. Add it to my collection.
But in regards to the Riot Grrrl Rave stuff, a lot of the edits I've been playing out over the last year, I've been making a lot of edits of tracks that I really love from my teenage and college years. So it's a lot of stuff like The Strokes, Broken Social Scene, Rilo Kiley, Death Cab for Cutie. That Strokes edit I've been playing out a lot. I love that one. And it's a Strokes, it's Reptilia. And I think it like really kind of channels that aggression that I'm looking for. And in terms of the songwriting, which you also brought up, it's like This Home We Built is a...
Sorry, 1 second. I hate to interrupt you because I really want to listen to all of this, but I did notice that the stream is a little laggy, but everyone's telling me that the audio is okay. So I'm going to let this run, and I do have this recording on my end, so I'll just upload the non-laggy recording for later, as long as everyone's cool with that. I think it's because my computer is really low on battery, and that's my bad, but it is plugged in. So as long as everyone's cool with it, I'm going to keep going. Are you cool with it?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, all right. I'm so sorry. Please continue. I just wanted to address the issue.
It's okay. It's okay. But in regards to, This Home We Built, and also some of the tracks from last year, like Long Way, which I did with Artemis Orion. I also wrote some music with this artist I really respect named Bronze Avery. And that's a track that we've been trying to get signed for a while. Really trying to inject some extra vulnerability into the music that I make, and perspective, because all too often I feel like, and I've said this, in previous conversations we've had, I feel like sometimes we lose that sense of perspective, that sense of self in your music, because you're so focused on creating a banger for the dance floor that you overlook the pieces of yourself that you can actually inject some humanity into what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely in the dance music scene too. It's so easy to just go into this funnel of like, oh, these are the sounds that are working, and banger after banger after banger. And it's like, yeah, but humanity is what brings life to everything, being a little bit of a person.
It's like, even going back to Charlie, right?
Yeah.
Like who we brought up earlier, the Brat album, had bangers on there, like 365, 360. But she really kind of shows a different side to her on things like Sympathy Is a Knife.
Yes. I think about it all the time.
I think about it all the time. Yeah. And, it's, those are the songs that I feel like a lot of people gravitated towards, because it shows a side of Charlie that she, it's the double side of the coin, right? There's like the part of her that doesn't give a fuck, and then there's the part of her that's like overthinking every
Yep.
choice that she makes.
And that's what made Brat so
Um,
good, was that juxtaposition of the clubby banger party girl and the, oh shit, this is like my inner monologue that haunts me when I'm not around
Yeah.
the loud music and doing cocaine. Like, because that's everybody's
Yeah.
experience. I mean, you don't have to be in the club doing cocaine, but like everyone has their face on the outside and the shit that haunts you on the inside, and it's relatable to be honest about that.
Yeah, 1,000%. And especially when you are coming up in a scene that is increasingly aggressive towards marginalized communities, it's, you know, for as much as they like to say we're more inclusive, I feel like sometimes this scene, it's really easy to kind of just swipe things under the rug under the name of plur, and not really address something as it's happening, just for this whole reason of like not wanting to ruffle feathers or seem like contrarian to the idea of good vibes. So yeah. But in terms of my songwriting, going back to what I was saying before, we're definitely injecting some more personal vibes into what I'm making, and the idea is kind of like dance music you can cry to.
I love that
Right.
idea. I love that.
Yeah.
San Holo
So,
brings a
like,
little bit of that to things. You know, he's got a little
Yeah,
bit
yeah.
of a everybody fucking cry vibe. And I'm trying to fix things on the side while we're talking. Just everyone out there, I'm trying to do little things. But
But,
Sophie
you
said
know,
it's
not
okay to
dance music you
cry.
can cry to, in the sense that, like, yeah, like I want people to feel like they can open themselves up at a show and, you know, feel some kind of sense of community and feel good in that moment. Because when I'm happiest at a club, like when everything is just right and I feel like I'm buzzing, I oftentimes start getting very tearful and emotional,
Me too.
because I feel like this kind of like this not to sound religious, but this energy or this higher power that I otherwise don't get a chance to feel
Yes.
any other time.
Yes.
Um,
The club is
and
church
so-
for many people, and I think that it doesn't have to be any sort of weird connotation. It's just that's where people come to commune together, to all get, when people are all on the same wavelength, it's just one of the most special feelings that you can tap into as human beings. And I also get teary-eyed, and that is what I'm seeking if I'm leaving the house to go out. It's definitely that feeling.
Yeah. And so, you know, it's like we're entering a world that is increasingly videotaped by
Yeah.
people. And so, you know, it's like I think it's really important to make music that makes people feel grounded and be less about the spectacle of it all or the showiness of it all, and like just give people an experience that allows them to feel like a sense of belonging.
Mm-hmm.
Because ultimately, and this is, I don't want to sound mean, if you like kind of music, you know, or like Tale of Us, or
Right. The super deep.
or what's the name of that fellow who did all those dates at the Sphere? Who
Oh,
dates Grimes?
oh my gosh. He's from Tale of Us originally. It's
Yeah.
something. Wow. I'm a professional, ladies and gentlemen. Amine. It's not anime. It's like Amine. I really look
Anima?
like Anima.
Anima.
That's it.
Anima.
Enema is a Tool
Enema.
album. Enema is the guy who did a residency
It's Enema.
at the Spirit.
It's Enema.
Enema of the
So-
State of the Union of Dance.
Yeah. Like, if your sole focus is on creating moments like that, and the majority of the people coming to your shows are experiencing it through a cell phone screen,
Yeah.
right? How connected are people with the music?
Yeah. I mean, they're probably very amazed with what they're seeing, but is that, and you know, for some artists, that's probably hitting it, you know, but for others and other fans out there, I think there is a desire for it to mean a little bit more. And you know what? I wasn't there.
Sure.
I didn't see the Sphere show, so what do I know? Maybe it is, but
Right.
I hear you and I feel you and I feel similarly about what goes into making something feel really special.
Yeah. And so, you know, it's like, if that's your idea of a good time, great. But I don't think that's really like a communal experience so much as it's like going to, you know, kind of like what I said about, you know, a lot of people who go to Coachella, they go there for the vibe and for the experience of being at Coachella. They're not going there to experience music and the sense of community. They're there to like take a photo, take a video, be an influencer, like, you know, look at my weekend at Coachella 2025. And, you know, like, if that's what you're into, then that's all great and fine. I just feel like there's a certain level of disconnection with that comes with that. And I would much rather be making music that makes people feel connected, and gives them an opportunity to kind of resonate on the dance floor with not just their own frequencies, but the frequencies of other people around them. And
Hell
you
yeah.
do that by having empathy in your music and having intention in your music and having perspective. And so that's what I've been focusing on a lot the last few years. And I'm glad that it's bleeding into my work and that people are finally kind of finding that. And we're going to have more of that going forward. And so, you know, we're in the era of world building for me.
I love that.
So yeah, so we have like the House of Weight, which is I have this thing on Vault.fm where people can sign up for free and they get like, you know, advanced access to things like tickets and you know, snippets of things that I'm working on and exclusive remixes and that's, you know, something I'm really passionate about. I'm trying to rebuild my Tumblr again.
Yes, bring the Tumblr back.
Trying to bring that back.
Send me all these links in an email and I'll add them to the description block below.
And you know, like we're just trying to create some world building, because in all reality, the artists I've really been looking up to as of late are kind of like crafting this sense of community around everything that they do, and this feeling of connectedness and togetherness and crafting a story around everything they do.
It's intentional.
Most particularly, yeah, it's like the intention behind it. And so I think about Charlie, I think about Chapel, I think about Sabrina Carpenter, I think about Tyler the Creator. Whenever he's rolling something out, Amine right now is in the middle of an album rollout, and the world building he's creating there is incredible. And nobody's really doing that in dance music. And I feel like it's because we're so focused on club-oriented tracks and just kind of like one-off singles and things like that. And the world is often just a DJ booth.
Yeah.
There's not really a lot surrounding it. but I think there's an opportunity there to kind of create something special. And Dirty Bird did that for a while.
Yeah.
You know,
Reppin'.
represent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dirty Bird did that for a while. They kind of created this world that was super inclusive and allowed people to let their freak flag fly,
Yep.
and be a part of something bigger. And they're kind of recapturing that now with, you know, bringing Camp Out back later this summer. And I'm curious to see where that goes, because I think that's something that dance music really needs. That's the only way that we're going to be able to salvage anything out of this, I think, going forward, is if we really put a lot of emphasis and focus on building the sense of community and the sense of feeling and sense of belonging, and allowing people to make themselves vulnerable enough to become a part of that that ecosystem. Otherwise, you know, it's just going to become very sterile, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
So
Some ways it is sometimes already, but I hear you. I love everything that you're saying, and I want to segue into a song that you have coming out soon called Expression, which is very much digging into important themes of community. And, you know, in my brain it segued because I was thinking about how dance music started as creating a safe space for queer people of color to come together and celebrate life and the joy of life, even when the world outside that they really spent their day-to-day in wasn't necessarily a place that would be joyful all the time. And, you know, we get a little far from the source at times. And so it's great when that sense of communion does come together on the dance floor. But your song Expression is really an homage to the queer community and that sense of pride and joy that comes from being able to feel your community being with you. But why don't you explain the song Expression instead of just me?
Yeah. So the elevator pitch of this track, I would say, is it's a UK inspired.
Love that.
A UK inspired, club oriented track that uses samples that were taken from various Pride celebrations in the UK a couple of years ago. This started as as just like a loop. I was asked by Beatport to do this thing.
That's cool.
A few years ago, and it was, you know, like just something that kind of sat by the wayside. But like I found power in it and realized that there was something really beautiful about it. And so it's a song that has various people, just people in attendance, drag performers, etc., sharing their feelings about like what pride means to them. And I feel now, just hearkening back to a point I made earlier, with how everything is politically and how under attack the LGBTQ community is, particularly trans women, furthermore, trans women of color, by our society. I feel like the message of this song was very important. And so we're putting it out this year during Pride Month. And it's part of a larger project. The artwork is actually a collage or a mosaic of various LGBTQ people who, over the course of the last 100 years, I would say, were the victims of violence for just being who they were in public. And so it's just a sea of faces, along with some other landmarks such as Pulse nightclub, Stonewall Inn, where famously, the gay rights movement started. And I wanted this song, which is ultimately birthed from a celebration of people being who they are, to come out with this artwork, because here you have people having an opportunity to be themselves, and on the other hand, you have people who never had that opportunity because it was taken away from them. And I want people to kind of be faced with that reality. Because all too often we hear about something terrible in the news, and because it's one person in some random town somewhere, it's an abstract. But when you're presented with a sea of faces,
real people,
it's something you can't look away from. It's like what my mom had told me. My mom had a lot of friends who died in Vietnam. And what she was saying was, you read one name in a newspaper of somebody who died overseas versus seeing a wall of names of people who died. The visual is much more different. And I think there are a lot of people out there who think that we're overreacting when we say this is a very serious thing that's happening.
Right.
Because in their mind, they don't see the magnitude.
Right. And every year during Pride Month, it's like, oh, the Nike rainbow shoe. Oh, the new Lululemon Pride bra or whatever. I'm just naming companies. But, I think a lot of people who aren't active in the queer community don't even know sometimes the story of Stonewall and why we're having Pride, why that's even why the parade happens. It is a political statement of, we will not be shoved into the shadows. We will not be dragged behind the bush and beaten. Like, we are standing here to be taken seriously as human beings who love and cry and exist. And it's good to remind people.
That the very first Pride parade in New York, the gay liberation movement, what that parade was organized by trans women of color, Sylvia Rivera and Marsha P. Johnson. They were instrumental in that very first Pride. And when people say, the original Pride was a riot, we laugh, right? But that's literally what it was.
Exactly.
The very first ever parade, whatever you want to call it, it was a demonstration. It wasn't, people on a float sponsored by Sky Vodka.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't that. And I think people have lost the plot, especially some people who aren't very familiar with the LGBTQ community. And they're just... because it's not part of their everyday life, they think it doesn't impact them.
Right.
And not only does it not impact them, but because it's not part of their everyday life, why should they care? And there's a very famous quote. I want to say it's Angela Davis, but there's a quote. It's either Angela Davis or Bell Hooks, I'm sure somebody will correct me on this. But the quote is, "If they come for me in the morning, they will come for you at night."
Oh, that's a good quote.
And yeah, and I think as it stands with the trans rights movement, especially here in the United States, if people are sitting there thinking that women's rights won't be next, or the rights of persons of color, or the rights of,
anyone
like,
who's
they're
not a
already,
corporation, yeah.
not to get too tinfoil hat here, but the current administration is already dropping hints that these are like kind of the next things that they're going to focus on once the situation with trans individuals is taken care of. And, like, we as performers, we as artists, we have a responsibility to our art form, to speak up, because we have a platform. We can actually create very real change with the things we do. And so I hope that this song, not to bring it back,
Well, as you
but I
should.
hope that this song, Expression, which comes out on He She Day, which is a label I respect and admire for the amount of effort and resources and money that they pour into the queer community, and to other marginalized people. I really hope this gets a very real conversation going about not just allowing people to be happy and be free, but also acknowledging the very real threats against their existence, and asking for accountability for the violence that happens against these people. So we'll see if that happens. But in an ideal world, I would love to see very real change happen.
Of course. Not even in an ideal world. So, in a like decent world, like in an okay world, I would like to see that. Well,
in a McDonald's at 3 a.m. when they're switching over to breakfast and the ice cream machine's not working world.
Yes, exactly. Like, in our world right now.
Yeah.
Well, at the end of the chat, I am going to play Expression, which is exciting. It's exclusive.
Sure.
So everyone stay on to hear this track. It's fantastic. We don't have the artwork, but I set it to some footage of Baby Weight DJing. But before we really walk away, we have some questions in the chat that I want to get to. If you ever see me chuckling to myself while you're being very serious, it's just because I can see the chat. Zushin,
it's all right.
Zushin Thunder Liger, a name that I absolutely love, has two questions. One is serious, one not so serious. The serious question we'll start with: what's something you've learned in your career since the last Catcalls chat that we had that you'd like to share with Zushin and the folks at home?
The last thing that I've learned,
or one thing you've learned, something you've learned,
or a thing that I've learned. I've learned that there's power in saying no. And all too often, I say this because all too often when you're an artist, you want to take any and all opportunities that come your way, right? Either because you feel like you might burn a bridge if you say no, or because, it might get exposure to a crowd that you've never seen before. And I think when you learn to say no, it really kind of like sets the tone for people. And it helps them get a better gauge in terms of like things that you're actually interested in doing.
Right.
And if you're actually interested in doing something, that investment actually bleed through whatever you do. Like, people can actually see that you give a shit.
Totally.
And So yeah, there's a power in saying no.
It is
And
a scary thing to start doing, but it is an important thing to do. And you know inside when it's time to say no. You do.
yeah, and there are sometimes you have to. This is part of saying no. Sometimes you have to take a break.
Yeah.
And you have to, for your mental health, for your emotional health, for your physical health, you have to take a nap. You have to hydrate. You have to feed yourself. You have to step away from your computer.
Yeah, you have to not
go
immediately respond to the phone. You need to take a fucking break.
Not every single email needs you right away. Some emails are just telling you what your Groupon situation is. You don't need to respond to that right away. You don't have to respond to that ever.
Yeah. True.
So and that's another thing. You don't have to respond to every message.
Yeah.
All too often when you're an artist, especially on social media, you'll get a lot of random messages from people that are, it's like, if somebody's like, oh my God, I love your music. You did so great last night. Sending like a thumbs up emoji or a heart or something like non-committal. Sure. Great. Awesome. But sometimes you get a message that's just like not worth your time.
Yeah.
Like somebody might be like, hey, do you have like a discount code for tickets?
Oh, yeah.
Stuff like that. It's like,
why are you throwing me under the bus like that? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. It's like, well, you know me, you get the door price on all tickets for my show.
Yo, we trying to support.
Just kidding,
we
just kidding.
supporting
Just kidding.
every opportunity that we have.
Just kidding. But I,
yeah, Taking space for yourself.
there are times where not responding is
okay.
not just an okay choice. It's like it's a preferred choice.
Yeah. And I think that goes beyond even just like, artist stuff. That's just life stuff that is hard sometimes to really internalize. But take time for yourself and say no when it's right to say no, because saying no to some things makes the yes to other things even better and stronger and makes your work better.
This past year was the first year where I started saying no to going to like after parties.
Mm-hmm.
Because all too often all too often you find yourself at an after, somebody's like, oh my God, you should come over, we'll play tunes, we'll be geeky, it'll be fun, it'll be great. And then you show up and then it's like 4 people on whippets. Very small couch. It smells like Brussels sprouts. And whoever has the aux cord is really bad at reading the room, and so they're playing stuff like Insane Clown Posse or Stained.
Okay, honestly, wait, where is this afters? Because I'm on my way.
But sometimes you go to an afters and you find that Kat is sitting on the couch that you're going to be sleeping.
Yes! Oh my God!
T-10 minutes.
That actually happened. Well, that wasn't an afters. You were like staying there. I was at the afters. I was aftering.
Yeah.
After the Magic Castle. It wasn't even like a show. It was just like, I went to the Magic Castle, came back and decided to party with people. And then I started to fall asleep on the couch and someone was like, yo, you got to get up because someone's coming here to sleep, and they said it was you, and I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Like, you don't understand."
Yeah,
but I did leave. I gave you the couch.
Yeah, that was a moment. That was a moment in time. But yeah, saying no. There's a power in saying no, mm-hmm. and a power to knowing when you're tired and when it's time to tap out.
Mm-hmm.
So, even if you're being like a party pooper, like
You poop that party.
so, like yeah,
You poop
sometimes
right
it's-
on it.
Yeah. Sometimes it's better to shit your pants on the way out than shit your pants while you're in there.
Hell yeah. This is real
Yeah.
advice. Hashtag real advice with baby weight on catcalls. The second question from Zushin Thunderliger, again, great name. Who is the nicest DJ you've met in Tech House?
Nobody. They're all terrible. You have to be more specific than that. Are we talking about like Broy Tech House? Are we talking about like what Tech House was in 2016? Are we talking about like Dirty
Rate my
Bird
Tech
style
House.
house music?
Well, while the stream catches up, so Zushin can specify who is the nicest who are some nice DJ producers out there that you're really loving, that you want to shout out, that you like working with, that you love what they're doing?
Well, if it's an LGBTQ DJ, especially if it's a doll, we're throwing shade at you behind closed doors. So we're really mean.
The nicest
We
DJs are
really
actually very mean.
but some of them are very nice. I would say Board Lord is a sweetheart. She's great. I would say the Bliss Madonna, they're incredible. And they work tirelessly to
For a long time.
create opportunities for people. LPGOB, she's a fucking gem of a human. I have a release coming out on her sub-label through Defected
Nice.
at some point this year.
Yes.
And I'm really excited about that. Yeah, yes. And I'm really excited about that release. And it's kind of like carrying on the theme of where Baby Weight's going. The name of the track is called Feral.
Nice.
It's very great. LPGOB is wonderful. Justin Martin is a total sweetheart.
I was going to suggest Justin Martin, but with the first question,
Justin Martin is legitimately such a nice person. And I would also say Walker and Royce.
Yeah.
Genuinely sweet guys, not a hateful bone in either of their bodies. Luke Andy, also a very sweet person. Kevin Knapp is a total sweetheart.
We love the sweethearts. We love the nice folk.
Yeah. Yeah, we love nice folk. We love nice folk. And then, there are some other like huge name DJs that I've bumped into over the years, just like in passing, where it's like we say two sentences to each other, but they're nice. Dom Dalla is one of those people.
Oh, he seems
Chris
nice.
Chris Lake is one of the most down to earth people I've ever met in my life.
Nice.
So like Chris Lake is a great guy. All the girls are incredible. So like Vanessa, Nala, Coco and Breezy, Raycola, all just
Shout out
Zoff.
Mary Drobbins.
Zoff is in like this middle of like an evil era on social media, but like don't fall for it. She's actually very sweet.
I love that. Blowing up the bitchy front. Actually very sweet.
Yeah, but like I've also met, and I'm not going to name names, but I've met a fair share of DJs where like, they say or do something, or they're rude, and it just kind of like puts up a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
And granted, like, listen, I know what it's like to be on very little sleep.
Yeah, facts.
Having very little sleep, having not really eaten very much in a few days, kind of overstimulated. I've snapped at people before.
Yep. Same.
So like, sometimes when a DJ is rude to you, you just kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. They might be having a bad day. They might be tired. Like,
Yeah.
that's why I'm saying, you have to know when to say no. Sometimes
Exactly.
it's better to go to the hotel, get some sleep, become a better person, and
Yep.
not a shell of a human.
Yep.
Um,
Because our shells, our
Yeah.
empty shells don't represent us properly. It's just never,
Yeah.
that wasn't me.
yeah.
I needed a Snickers.
Chris Lorenzo, really nice fella. Chris Lorenzo's a really nice fella. And Sammy Vergie. I opened for Sammy Vergie last year. I'm opening up for him again in New York in June.
Nice.
He's very nice. Very nice guy.
That's awesome.
So yeah, can't speak highly enough of
Well,
any of those people.
Speaking of kicking chairs, which is something I've done when I was a shell of a person, Torden Strike wants to know what you thought of WrestleMania 41.
Here's how I feel. I really like that Seth Rollins is a heel again. I'm really curious to see what he's going to do. I think we are finally looking at Roman as a babyface for the first time in several years. I'm curious to see where that storyline goes. I was really impressed with the match between Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, and Bianca Belair. I'm happy that Io retained. I'm curious to see what they do with Rhea Ripley, because Rhea is most interesting when she's champion. I do like when she's chasing, but like when she has a belt, she's like a considerable threat. And I feel the opposite about Cody Rhodes. I think Cody Rhodes, while I love the fact that he was a champion and that he won the belt for his dad, I feel like Cody is more interesting when he's chasing versus when he has a title. So I'm happy. I'm curious to see where that goes. I'm surprised The Rock didn't show up since they made such a big deal about that with the John Cena heel turn. I think the match between John Cena and Cody Rhodes was actually a good match. I understand why people could be upset at that match just because, like, it was short. John Cena wanted to be in and out and kind of do the thing. But I think that's kind of the point of his heel turn, is that he's purposefully not giving people what they want.
Mm-hmm.
That's like his entire thing is like, he's going to ruin wrestling. So how better to ruin wrestling than give people a terrible match on purpose? You know what I mean? Like that's, so I think it falls in line with his character, and therefore I thought it was okay. I really hate that Logan Paul is so athletic. I really want CM Punk to get in some trans rights colored gear because we all know that he supports the dolls. I want CM Punk to beat the living shit out of Logan Paul wearing like a trans rights attire. I think that would be sick.
That would be sick.
Because Logan Paul is a transphobe. Like Logan Paul is out here calling cisgender women trans because they're, built and big and muscular. Like he's garbage. Let's see. What other hot takes do I have? I think the New Day match where they got the tag team titles, that was all right. Not the best match in the world. I'm happy to see that Dom Mysterio is Intercontinental Champion. I think he's one of the hardest working wrestlers in the WWE. He deserves that. I'm surprised that they still gave Randy Orton a match. Would have been nice to see that match go a little bit longer.
I'm so out of my depth, but I love this for you.
yeah. I think WrestleMania 41 was good. It was good. There are some matches in there that I think will go down in history as classics, but it was a lot. It was a lot of matches. It was like 10 hours of wrestling over the course of a whole weekend. And that's not even counting NXT, which is like their developmental division. So like Stand and Deliver had their own pay-per-view. So yeah.
Hell yeah. Mic drop.
Broy Tech House, the Johns and Dons and Chris's and Fishes.
You did say
Chris
the Chris's
Lake,
were nice.
yeah, Chris Lake is really nice. Chris Lorenzo is really nice.
All the Chris's.
I don't know John Summit. I've met him one time. It was almost a decade ago. Actually, it wasn't even a decade ago. It was at the Miami Music Week where we ran into each other, which was 2019. Yeah.
Before the
Which
madness.
funny story, and I will continue to bring this up. For those of you who don't know,
Right.
Kat and I first met outside at a Brownies Lemonade party. We were
That's-
introduced by a
right.
mutual friend, Steph, who used to do media under Stegra Media.
Yep. Shout out
And
Steph.
Kat was so out of it.
Talk about not
that-
knowing when to say no. I remember this though in the parking lot at Mana.
Yeah. And then about a year goes by and Kat's talking to me like we'd never met before. and I'm, me being the sober little birdie most of the time, because most of the time I'm just like too broke to drink. Not true.
My new rule is you only drink free drinks because then you don't drink too much and you don't spend too much.
Yeah. Well, my budget went totally to pub subs that entire
As it should.
Yeah. A chicken tender pub sub.
Yup. Yeah, fuck that shit up.
Fire. But yeah. I met John Summit at that music week. I think he was at a Dirty Bird party in Wynwood that year.
Tracks.
I definitely met Parker Cohen that weekend. And it was a very brief, less than 5-minute conversation. But yeah, Dom Dalla is a nice guy. I've spoken with him before for maybe 2 minutes. And that was at like a Spotify writing session. I actually spent an entire afternoon though with Kashmir, which was interesting.
Yeah.
And he was like, we wrote a track in an afternoon. It was a lot of fun. He's cool, but he's on a whole other plane of existence.
He
you
seems
know what
like
I mean?
it.
It's
Yeah. He's got talk about world building and having a vision. Like that guy is serious. Yeah, and very talented.
Yeah, we're talking about, like pub subs, and he's thinking about this week-long excursion he's about to do in like Singapore. You know what I mean? It's just like two completely different completely different things. I did run into him though at in Denver once.
Fun.
We were playing two different clubs on the same road in the same night, and we ran into each other at the hotel in the lobby.
Fun.
And that was fun because there was a little bit of like, oh hey, how's it going? Oh hey, how's it going?
Denver is, I think, in my
felt good.
experience, another big city, small town where it's like, yeah, Denver's Denver, but it's really the community is this big. You're gonna run into folks.
Yeah, and it's like the crazy thing about Denver too is that like 5 of the clubs are all in the same block.
Wow.
So it's like, the church, Bar Standard, Club Vinyl, and what's the other one? City Hall, I think is what it's called. All those places are on literally the same block.
That's crazy.
Like,
Club Street.
They're only separated by like a street light, and then Temple is like the next block down. So it's like literally just you can hit every single show if you really wanted
to. Fun.
Yeah.
Well, listen.
It's a lot.
As we wind down here, because I am looking at my computer and I want to save this chat, take a look at it, hopefully re-upload it with the clear. But before I let you go, you know, we usually end our year-end chat with like a setting of intentions. We're 4 months into 2025, so maybe intentions isn't the right message, but what message would you like to share with folks at the end of today's cat call that you haven't already shared, because you've shared a lot of great ones?
Thing number one, I have three things. Thing number one, always travel with a little bit of cash in your pocket.
Smart.
Yeah. Even if it's just $10, like it's, you know. The second thing is you only have so many summers, so many winters, so many falls, so many springs on this planet. So cherish that and make sure that you tell the people that you cherish that you care about them on a regular basis, because that might be the last time.
Yeah.
So
I know that, sadly.
Yeah, very real shit. And then the third one is stick to your guns. If you think something's not right, trust that instinct. Because usually it's the universe telling you that something's up. So, you know, stick to your guns, always carry a little bit of scratch with you, and make sure you try to cherish every moment and every interaction with people you care about. Like it's the last one you're going to have.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. And if you don't do any of those three things, it won't be the end of the world, but you'll be better off for it if you do those things. And then step four, the fourth thing is I should take my own advice, because I have a tendency not to do any of those things. You know, so yeah. Also, sorry, I know I do this every single time. Also, it's okay not to be on your phone.
Yeah. Let it go.
It's okay. It's okay to leave your phone in another room. It's okay to, you know, let your battery die and not plug it in right away. It's okay that you don't get a photo or a video at a show that you're at.
Yeah,
you know,
trust. If I'm there, I'm doing it. So you don't need to.
Yeah, you know, and you know, it's like we're living in a world where we have everything at our fingertips, right? Like, you know, sometimes it's better to listen to something on a CD. Sometimes it's better to crack open your iPod. Limitations are good.
Facts.
Like, yeah, you know, it's like when I had an iPod and that fucker like had 10,000 songs only on it. And granted, 10,000 is still a lot of songs.
Tons,
right?
Yeah.
Those 10,000 songs were songs I really fucking loved.
Mm-hmm.
And that I listened to all the time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When you have access to everything, some things lose meaning.
True.
And so, you know, it's sometimes setting limitations on certain things are good. So, you know, it's like maybe putting a child lock on your phone so that you can't use any apps past 6 p.m. or something. You know, it's just like
treat yourself like the child you are.
Do things with intention. Don't just do things because you don't know
it's a habit.
What else to do with your hands or whatever.
It's true.
Yeah. I recently read somewhere that people that have like grandparent hobbies, like knitting and crosswords and stuff, those people have a tendency, on average, of like, on average, are like 30% more likely to outlive the average life expectancy.
Wow.
Or something.
Because slowing down is good for you.
Yeah.
Taking a
Knitting.
moment, take
it's
a
like
beat.
it's like motor skills.
Yeah.
So like, read a book, do a crossword, go outside, get some fresh air. If you're not feeling particularly creative, go to a museum, see a movie.
Definitely.
Like, have a really good fucking slice of pizza.
Fuck yeah. That's some world changing shit too. And enjoy it. Just Be in the moment.
Yeah. Sometimes all you need is a food court slice and a Coke. Like real talk. Hit the reset button.
Yes. This is why I love having you as a recurring character on Catcalls. The wisdom is sage, and the humor is yet there.
Yeah, but it's like, it is true.
It's
like sometimes like, you really do need to get back to factory settings, and like sometimes all you need is like a simple, like sometimes all you need is that Diet Coke from the McDonald's drive-thru. You know what I mean? Just like something to kind of like rewire your brain.
Have you had your break today?
Huh?
Have you had your break today?
Me? No, not yet. I was running errands, like basically right until.
I was manic
the
2 hours before this started, and I still didn't have my computer charged enough. That's DIY music journalism, ladies and gentlemen. It's a one human show, but so glad to have Baby Weight on the show.
I love doing this. I love you.
I love you.
I respect your opinion. I respect how much skin you've had in the game. And
Thank you.
You are so knowledgeable, and you ask such great questions.
Oh, well, you have such great things to say, always consistently thoughtful, meaningful, real things to say. And I'm so proud of you for injecting all of that wisdom that you have and personality into the music that you're making. And all of the tracks are fire. So I'm really excited for everything that's coming, everything that has just come. And we'll just fucking bookend it. I'll talk to you again at the end of this year. We'll just do it.
Yeah, no, sounds good. Same cat time, same cat channel.
Exactly. You get it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm going to play Expression, and I'm going to end the laggy stream, and I'll re-upload the freshie, the good, smooth, creamy peanut butter version to you too.
Sounds good.
I love you. Thank you so much, Baby Weight.
Of course.
Until we meet on an after party couch or not.
Yeah. We'll probably run into each other on another airplane flying cross country.
That happened too.
Yeah.
I will see you when we least expect it in the wild.
All right. Sounds good, man.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Yay. Another classic. I'm so sorry for the technical difficulties. I had my computer plugged in while I was creating the intro and everything, but it just wouldn't be a DIY interview show without a couple of hiccups. What can I say? I do this all by myself. And to reiterate that point, if you would like to support, please find me on YouTube. You've already found me. Great job. Substack. Subscribe to my newsletter. I should have a new one of those coming finally after a very long break on would say Monday or Tuesday of next week. And stay tuned. We will have another Cat Calls in May. I can't tell you the date yet, but I do know that I'm going to have my journalism foil, Katie Bain, joining the program, which I'm very excited about. We did an interview interviewing each other for WMC Winter Music Conference back in March, and people really enjoyed it. And most importantly, we really enjoyed it. And I know there was so much more that we had to say and share with each other and with the world. So that'll be a really fun episode. And yeah, I'm setting intentions for Busy P, Toward and Strike. I would love to get Matt Zoe, Uffy, who's the LP Joby? We need the LP Joby reprise. And I think that that's all very possible. So before my computer completely shuts down, I'm going to play Expression by Baby Weight, coming on He, She, They in June of this year. This is an exclusive. No one's ever heard it before. You're welcome. And see you on the internet.
Means freedom and expression and the right to be who you are.
Good